A violent shudder shook my whole body, causing my eyes to flicker open. A heavy daze overwhelmed me like being cocooned in a warm blanket before it swiftly dissipated into raw terror as I realized what I'd just been forced to experience. With a sharp breath, I shut up, my eyes instantly scouring my body for any sign that such a nightmare may have followed me out of my memory. I was laying in the medical bed, fearing the worst. I slowly pulled the sheets back. My hooves? Still there. My coat? Still there. My whole body was still there. My sudden jolt did not bodge well for my motor control, however, for, in spite of my will, my body wasn't responding the way I would have liked. I lurched forward, my head dipping lazily as my mind swam. My gut felt like the roaring, splashing whirlpool of churn. My legs ached with the sensation of pins and needles as pinched blood vessels resumed flowing to the affected nerves. My coat was doused in a layer of cold sweat. I was no longer wearing my bearding, nor was I in a state to defend myself. My weapons had been confiscated, and all I had left was my pip-buck. Instead, a sweat-soaked white sheet was draped over my lower half. I took a deep breath as I began to calm down and slowly my racing heart to a more bearable level. I rubbed a hose through my sweat-soaked mane, finally turning my attention to my gloomy surroundings. Hanging from a wired box in the ceiling was a device resembling the spider-like arms of Willow's Mr. Handy. Only instead of buzzsaws and flamethrowers, these arms had been fitted with needles and similarly sharp medical utensils. Despite the eerie atmosphere, the shocking memory of a pony disintegrating from within and my churning insides, I still shivered at the sight of them. Well done, Dragonfire. So if you were in a lair full of manticores and you saw a needle just laying around, would you just stop for a moment and shiver for old phobia's sake? I didn't even bother muttering the words, "Shut up, Rain," in response to that stupid mental proclamation. I simply ignored a surgical multi-tool on the needles to the best of my ability. That was made easier by the fact that most of the sharp limbs above were neatly flooded up against the central carapace, the legs of which clung to the ceiling. Shaking that nagging idea out of my head as best as I could, I leaned forward, resting my forehooves onto the mattress. That's when my body once again thought it would be funny to act up without my consent. My instincts felt as if somebody had been playing hopscotch with him, and every moment only made the dull ache and overwhelming sensory feedback that much worse. Not only that, my gut felt strangely warm and tingly, a striking contrast to my cold, damp exterior. Only when I was still for about a minute did the churning nausea subside somewhat and the shivers hit me. Oh, yeah, it was freezing, my senses swiftly notified me. Immediately, I pulled the damp quilt around myself, hoping my body heat would at least warm both the fabric and the cold fluid staining it. Survival in the wasteland? Whoever said it was pleasant was one slick, slimy snake oil selling son of a bitch. Mama, you're trying through the friendliest ruin imaginable, and the next you're wrapping yourself in your own sweat-soaked blankets just to keep warm. Well, at least my sense of humor has survived whatever had happened to me, I remarked as my mind finally began to resume operating normally. Taking another brief moment, I peered into the gloom surrounding me. There was a faint flickering above. The only thing preventing the chilling chamber from becoming overwhelmed by darkness and its ghostly glow, I could just make out the long hospital-like room. Its walls were tiled, its ceiling a tessellating pattern of plaster sheets, crisscrossed neatly by the wires serving several more of the spider-like medical multi-tools. All those I could make out were situated above more private patient chambers, each housing a bed, several dark screens, and borders marked by white curtains. In the corner of my eye, another light flickered, and I looked to see the green evacuation marker which sat above the set of double doors in the room's far end. Straining to peer through the mist and windows, I could see the bright light of a white corridor beyond. It was then, as my gaze crawled back into the dark room, and noticed the bodies in the beds around me. I swallowed hard, but only succeeded in further irritating my dry throat and giving my body another excuse to thrash wildly. The discomfort became greater as I shifted from my slouched sitting position and moved to the bed's left side. Next to the bed was a mobile medical trolley, on which was an array of surgical utensils. Great. More needles, my mind moaned. I pushed the trolley aside in a clumsy attempt to get it down from the bed, its wheels squealing as it rattled to a stop against the wall. When my bumping attempts at leaving the bed failed, however, I collapsed back onto the comfortable mattress, whereupon I huffed in frustration. My mind was racing in an attempt to ignore my internal discomfiture. My hoof clenched a slowly warming blanket closer to my neck. It was then that the sight of the needles above reminded me of the gruesomely arranged skeletons occupying the other hospital beds within the terrible room. It felt unadulterated terror as I began to realize the danger which I had been exposed to after succumbing into unconsciousness. The best I could manage was a feeble kick. It was enough to shake the blanket from my lower torso, and I clenched my eyes closed, fearful of seeing any other signs of mutilation or experiment which might have been performed upon me, unable to not find out what alterations may have been made to my body. I looked to see. Nothing. No scars, not even burns or stitches. There was no indication that any sort of operation had transpired while I had been unconscious. After plenty of stories about experience upon live ponies, and stories of ponies who had either been vivisected or dissected, deeper than Equestria's mental asylums or malfunctioning pre-war laboratories. I gave a long sigh, my tense muscles relaxing as I realized that neither dissection or vivisection had been performed upon me whilst I had been unconscious. No more than a moment later, my now mostly operational mind told me what to do. I needed to get out of here. This time, I leaned forward and ignoring the intense discomfort, carefully scooted out of my bed. My hood struck the cold tiles as the bed sheets fell over my back. Almost instantly, my legs buckled like jelly under my weight. Stumbling, I peered against the bed frame for support. The cold nail obliged with a metallic creak, and its wheels had begun and locked in place. The world became a spinning blur once more as my eyes managed to warp the gloom about me into a swirling melange of color, light, and darkness. I really need to get out of this accursed place. Or if not out, then just get somewhere other than here. During my decision-making process, the mind seemed eager to unload a barrage of profane curses regarding how stupid I was to follow that fucking robot, overseer, that mariner tank, or to even enter this fucking place. By the goddess Dragonfire, you should have turned that little glowing fucker into dust the moment he appeared. But no, instead you behave like you're some Dan Greenhorn wasteland bounty hunter. You just had to go and follow him, didn't you? You just had to get yourself knocked the fuck out and lay unconscious on an operating table. You let that one pony you were supposed to protect alone and got fucked in some pre-war lab. Shut up! I screamed at my berating conscience before my conscience stopped nagging me suddenly. Jerry, I need to find her and get her out before that little fucker caught her too. I looked out to the bed across from me to see the dead body of a mare partially covered by the white hospital curtain, and really hoped that he hadn't gone to my friend already. With that terrifying thought in my mind, I took a quivering step forward, followed by another, each hoof tap upon the tiles, making it painfully clear that I wasn't the same bounty hunter I had been before I succumbed to unconsciousness. Despite the lack of obvious surgery, but I'd felt like this before. Was I drunk? Oh yeah, that fucking crazy protocol robot just wanted a quick drink. No, this was something different and I knew it. I felt a wrongness inside me that was unswervingly pleasant, like I'd just had a fun night. Only without the fun part and with all the dire consequences. I had to get out. I had to find Cherry. With that thought constantly in my mind, I knew that the little fucker had been given more than enough time to perform whatever sick, twisted experiment he may have wanted her. I bit the bottom lip and forced my shivering legs to form another weak step. Inevitably, my eyes wound up on the beds flanking me as I passed. The other ponies were all dead. Some were even reduced to skeletons. Those that were not simply skeletal ponies were no more than empty corpses, their eyes opened wide, and an unseeing, soulless stare as if gazing into eternity. Most were laid perfectly flat. Some were even tied down that way. Others were curled up tight, hooves clenching their stomachs as painful expressions remained forever frozen upon their lifeless faces. The cold, glowing X-rays plastered over the dark screens above showed eerie pictures of their insides. Even if I was not smart enough to notice anything wrong with them, the internal images still made me sick. The bodies closest to the door still had hooves held upright by the spider-like arms, other metallic limbs, tipped with what appeared to magical gemstones reached down towards their lower abdomen. I closed my eyes, struggling both to stand up and not to cringe at the horrible, gruesome display of death all around me. They all had one thing in common. They were all mares. Most of the dead had been unicorns, though there were even several earth ponies among them. And to my surprise, 2 were even pegasi. I didn't even want to investigate what had happened to the few that were completely hidden behind closed curtains. The still silhouettes of hooves struggling with mechanical limbs enough to tell me they were no better off than the dead I could see. I prayed to the goddess that none of them were cherry. Slowly the dull gloom became washed by the ghostly light of the lone bulb above the door, and it gave a few buzzing flickers before resuming its constant hum. In the new light, I could make out someone writing upon the ends of the 2 foremost hospital beds. One on the left supported a purple unicorn whose clipboard designated her as Patient 10, surrogate catalyst unable to sustain subject beyond stage 1, subject failure. A little more science mumble-jumble that I didn't bother to read went on below. The second was a blue Pegasus. Her flex stated she had a similar problem as the unicorn opposite. My fear-filled mind was in no state to process the scientific information, nor would I have wasted my time with the egg-headed jargon even if I could. I was gonna get my guns, find Cherry, and Star. Then we were gonna march right up to that little robot fucker and demand he tell me what the fuck he done to me. Yet as that new spark of determination flared, it was just as swiftly stolen as unsettling cramp suddenly twisted in my gut. I winced, my insides lurching heavily around the slight pain. One spluttered breath later, I found myself slumping against the door as the sharp pain in my gut swiftly vanishing, leaving only a tingling sensation amidst a continually churning storm. I fell back, trying my back to the door and sliding down onto my rump. The stocky sheet slipped from my back, sitting upon the cold tiles at my sides as I looked over myself. Nothing looked out of the ordinary. Even as I pressed a hoof to my aching stomach, nothing physically felt different. The only thing summoned by my touch was that unpleasant dizziness, as the world once again became a swirling midsummer color, darkness and light. What the fuck have you done to me? I mumbled under my breath, as my hoof trailed over my damp coat gently. Yet the slight cramp failed to return as I soon forced myself shakily back into my hoofs, pressing one against the reflective surface of the door. I shivered again, but managed to keep the next surge of internal turmoil into just a few spluttered coughs. Even so, I constantly experienced the roiling turmoil repeated over and over. I once felt as if I was turning into dust, just like in the memory. Yet this was real and not some terrifying illusion. I really wished... No, I was not just going to sit around, wait for me to be rescued like some helpless and weak damsel in distress. Damn it, Dragon. Either die right here, or keep moving either way. You're not letting that little fucker's experiments upon you beat you, my mind scorned, and for once I couldn't disagree. Taking a few deep breaths, I saw myself faintly in the glass of the door frame. I looked as if I had been through a great deal more than a night out in the wastelands, to say the least. Not even the roughest night I could remember had left me looking anything like this. My coat had almost turned into a dark gray with sweat. The same could be said for my mane. The kind mass looked more like it had tangled with some kind of seaweed monster and lost the top of my head. My eyes appeared bloodshot, and there were dark circles on my eyes. Not to mention they were wet, and my orbits appeared to be puffy, as were my nostrils. Yet my mouth felt nothing but dry. My throat ached as if it had forced me to swallow an entire Seedle mug's worth of sand. I pressed my eyes shut before taking another deep breath. I was going to get out, or was I going to die here? The wasteland was giving me those two options to choose from, and I knew I'd better pick one fast. Regardless of my mind's turmoil, I pressed my way against the door. It gave a heavy clunk before falling open and leaving me to stagger into a long tiled corridor beyond. I found not to fall flat on my muzzle, opting instead of colliding heavily against the right wall. My cold sweat slipped against the smooth tiles as I stumbled forwards. All I could see ahead was the same endless corridor, illuminated by yet more flickering lights. Despite that, I could feel my vision clearing and the mental fugue causing my consciousness was slowly dissipating. I paused, taking a few sharp breaths before forcing myself to stand up straight and noticed the doorway to my right. It was large and black, yet with a firm push, it swung open. Inside appeared to be a locker room, illuminated by another stammering evacuation light. Placing one hoe firmly on the tiles of the new room, I was able to coordinate a stronger step, followed by another. Even now I could feel myself slowly regaining my motor control, even though I still had a long ways to go before I could be satisfied with how my body moved and reacted. Even so, that did nothing to hinder my priorities. I need to find Cherry and Star and get the fuck out of this fucking place. I'd find my way to that mirror with my bird hoods if I had to. If I saw that robot, then he was as good as scrap metal. So I thoughts grew stronger, I staggered further. Weightfully pressing against the bench in the center of the locker room, I looked ahead, and there my clearing eyes widened. My barding? I coughed in a dry voice. There was no mistaking the blue scale security barding and customized power armor helmet. I stood up straight again, forcing my not quite steady legs to become steadier. It was my barding, guns and all. Exactly how I knew them. So why did that seem so different? Rosanna looked up and saw, sitting on the bench beside them, two more sets of barding. Most were stereotypical wastelander attire, as was the weaponry that accompanied them. Sadly, there were no energy weapons, yet I was hardly in a condition to give a major fuck. Some were no more than ragged scraps that a raider could easily throw together. Others seemed as sophisticated as my own. Two stood out massively. The black carapace of power armor was unmistakable. The wings and scorpion tail only made that truer. Both sets were left in the standing pose, as much lost sentinels as the building security system. Enclave, but it didn't take me long to recall the staggering image of the two Picasso mirrors dead on the beds. I closed my eyes sadly as I cringed. I could almost throw up just thinking about how fucked up this was. What the fuck were they doing here? Capturing seemingly random ponies from the wasteland and doing what? As much as I tried to resist thinking about the image of that mirror plugged into the tank, it flashed in my head over and over. There had been four on those pods. Had I been in, I lurched forward, my guts twisting and convulsing until they poured a torrent of bile into the tiles beneath my hoofs. I fell to my knees, gagging and wheezing as more vomit crawled up my dry throat, singing it with an acidic blue bile. What the fuck had he done to me? I found myself asking again and again, each question sending a cold shiver down my spine. I felt my head press against the bench. My forehead became warmer due to my vomit as I waited for the gagging to cease. I was trembling more than ever. I was afraid Suddenly a sound sounded out from the doorway behind me. I stiffened my legs as fast as my traumatized body would allow, my mind turning back into a warped mess. Regardless, I forced my magic around my saddle, blasted around, and looked to the empty doorway. He was coming back, that little floating fucker. He was coming to make me just like all the other mirrors he experimented on. All those other mirrors he had raped. I wonder the fuck the situation I found myself as. I tested my muscles, which ached in protest as I levitated in the modified energy rifle of to the open doorway. Come on, you little buzzing little fucker. I'll show you perfection. I growled weakly. I didn't care that, given my state, even the hovering robot could probably beat me in combat. My eyesight was still far from clear. My violent trembling made me aim no better than fillies on their first training day. You'll probably get me with the memory thing again. Assuming it was the same one, or so I'd have to experience turning to dust all over again. Was that what he'd done? Began such a process where I shivered again, this time with pure horror. Yet the gun remained poised to fire. Then the sound of footsteps upon tiles. They were slow, maybe even cautious. Certainly in the high-pitched hum of overseers hovering. But I wasn't taking any chances. I wasn't letting him get me again. No fucking way was I... Cherry? My frail voice broke in shock as the glooming image of the pink mare appeared in the doorway. My eyes widened and my magical grip vanished. The heart clattered, the blaster fell to the floor, as did I. She was just as startled as I was, even as she bolted towards me.
Oh, my Celestia, Dragonfire, are you okay?
She stammered frantically. Eileen just leaped up and wrapped my hose around her neck in a tight embrace. She tensed, becoming as stiff as a board, just like every other time I'd been so close. Yet this wasn't to protect her. Just needed somebody. The quivering mess of my forelimbs and I had become almost rattled against her tense muscles. And opening my eyes, I saw her looking at me, her own eyes wide with shock and confusion. I'm never gonna leave you again, I whimpered, like frightened filly crying into its mother's mane. She seemed to have no idea what to do beyond just trying and blocking out the sheer terror caused by my sudden and abrupt contact. As I just clung onto her there for a long moment, I felt her slowly relax. She was warm and alive. I was cold and half dead, but I held onto her like she was the only thing to keep me from slipping back into the horrible memory of the mare and the tank, or the vaporized stallion.
Dragonfire?
Her soft voice seemed to force itself from her muzzle as if her throat were clogged by soft tissue. I let go, leaning back my forehoofs, the lengths of which were now encased with vomit, as was my posterior as I plopped my butt in my now cold and icky fluids. For another long moment, the pair of us just stared at each other. Neither of us could oppose the other. Through fear, respect, or an overwhelming desire to protect. I still need to save her. I'm still gonna get her back home. I forced myself back onto my hose, scraping off the sticky, slick bile best I could. Are you okay? I asked kindly as my weak, dry voice wouldn't allow. She sheered away from the words.
I'm fine. I just fell in the lights. But what happened? You were there, then the door, I thought I was gonna... You have been gone for hours.
The words ran from her mouth like a river, and she only missed those things she didn't want to think aloud. Overseer. A dull throb of my past anger slowly rekindled, despite having subsided before. What the fuck was it doing? First, it separates her from me and now leads her back to me? My dizzy and muddled mind trying to come up with any logical reason for his seemingly contradictory actions. Yeah, I couldn't figure out anything more than a repeat of what he told me, and that only dragged me deeper into the fears of what he might have done to me while I was unconscious. No, I had only one goal to achieve right now. I'd have to find out what he'd done to me later. Now I had to either find him or get out. All I could do regarding such a thing was hope that Star was already clear or waiting upstairs, or at least somewhere where I could still contact him. So I double-checked my Pitbuck to see if my Pitbuck's broadcaster was still functional. Part of me at least entertained the idea that Overseer might be generous enough just to just let us walk out. We need to leave. I say as seriously as I can manage, my ears swiveling for the slightest sound which might indicate movement. My head swelling as I looked in a 240-degree rotation. Last thing I wanted was for the overseer to get the drop on me the second time. Sherry's expression remained gloomy. She managed to give me a small nod. Can you find your way back to the left? I asked, stepping close to her. She seemed to freeze, but remained silent, though I wouldn't be surprised if her mind was swirling with all manner of thoughts. Was she literally trying to believe she was useful? When that seemed to fail her, she looked almost on the verge of tears. Cherry? I queried her, and then almost a faint whisper. She glanced briefly at me before shaking her head slowly.
I just followed the lights. I just wanted to find you.
She muttered. I sighed, but nodded my head, understanding her logic. It doesn't matter. I'd have done the same if I were you, I admitted. Confident that was at least partially true. I knew I'd have followed the lights too. The overseer seemed to have no intention of reuniting us until he'd had his way with me. My words, however, seemed to give Cherry a spark of life. With that, I took a slow step up beside where my gear was piled, levitating my barding and slinging it over my back while placing the helmet on top of my head. My insides gave another twisting kick as I moved with extra array of guns and dragon scale. I felt oddly warm inside, yet chilled as ice on the outside. I changed. Something inside me was very different. Couldn't feel it entirely, but it was there, with something nagging at my mind like my body knew something I did. It was as if it had been adapted for such a diversion in its normality, yet my mind had. I took another step, shifting the warm sensation back into a dull ache all my muscles shared as I pressed on. Many concerns later, and after what felt like an eternity of shivering, my body began to completely reawaken. My gasping breath slowed. My eyes felt less strained in the bright light. Finally, we reached a fork in the corridor, and Cherry anxiously tried to retrace the way she'd been led, constantly glancing up to the lights as she went. I couldn't help but notice a mounting suspicion that all the light had now turned on. Unfortunately, it didn't seem like Overseer was playing his little game anymore. The more I thought about the robot's sick intentions, the more it made me my head hurt. He could have fucked me up in so many ways. What was it? Radiation? Taint? Was I going to turn to a ghoul? Or is whatever the fuck had happened to Hayland? I felt a cringe-worthy shiver in my gut that reminder of that feeling. Followed another cramp stinging my insides. I can understand now why this job had been worth so many caps. No monsters or environmental hazards, just some fucked up facility with an even worse caretaker. By the goddess, I was gonna die. I was on that client forever. Let's see how they like an unprissy ghost. I closed my eyes and tried not to think about any of it. Hard memories of ponies and pods, the dead mares back in the hospital room, and more difficultly, strange feelings bubbling inside me. Just ignore it, my mind advised. Get out, then you can worry about it. Oh yeah, the good old just don't think about it routine. Works every time, brain. Thanks so much for the advice. No, it was not that easy, but at least for the moment I could feel slightly worse than the roughest night I could remember. That changed a moment later as I glanced down the corridor to my left. Instantly I recognized the corridor in which I had found the office. The shattered glass of the medical door and a giveaway. Hey, I came this way, I stated, gesturing towards the corridor. Cherry paused, looking back to me with slight skepticism. Even so, she was not one to argue even if a part of me wished she could. She nodded, and I swiftly moved back towards the office, trying to ignore the sight of Lucky's former cell just ahead. The shattered glass window door was still open, as was the second one across the small medical room. Softly, I stepped through. Cherry followed her eyes instantly and eagerly setting upon anything I'd left unopened. See what you can find. I just want to take a look at something, I told her, of taking out the bobby pins I'd found for her. She looked at them appreciatively, before nodding and saying her sharp eyes to were scouring the room for anything she deemed worthy of her saddlebags, which I expected, including every little thing that wasn't nailed down. I stepped back into the main office, determined to find at least a hint of that little fucker had done to me. Motion after moments of being stationary, however, did not bode well from my reflective insights as they churned sickeningly again. Still, this time my nausea did not drop below the comfort levels that a belly full of booze could easily match, something I was greatly experienced with.
Dragonfire, are you?
Cherry's weak voice asked timidly as she looked at me, swaying, her ears twitched and eyes focused. I took a deep breath, attempting to compose myself into my usual stoic appearance. My body disagreed with my decision as another wave of nausea, and I was quickly getting the idea that whatever the seer had done to me was not supposed to be flawed by moving about this much. Nevertheless, I offered my companion a half-positive look. I'm fine. We just need to find Star and get the Tartars out of here, I explained with the urgency fighting not to gag as my insides roiled again. She just nodded skeptically. Great now concern was now apparently infectious, and she may be suffering from it more than me if I kept this up. I couldn't put her through that, after what she endured already. A moment later, and I once found myself in the unfamiliar setting of a clean pre-war room, red carpet, polished bookshelves, desk, and disintegrated corpse. Even looking at that ghostly pony-stained, disintegrated corpse filled me with dread. I'd felt it. Felt him go from a pony to naught but a pile of trash. I closed my eyes tightly as I trotted around, praying to the gods that such a thing would not happen to me anytime soon. Then I was once again faced with the glowing terminal. I placed my dragon scale gear on the desk along with my helmet. Then I entered the password I'd seen in the memory. Ebon. My trembling hooves made the task far harder. Yet as I finished far more information from whatever might have been stored on this terminal, the fleeting feeling of pride enveloped me, even if I had technically cheated in order to retrieve whatever might have been stored on this terminal. As the machine unlocked, I was met with several files and swiftly downloaded them onto my pitbook. One more thing caught my eye. However, which was a flickering small red box in the bottom right corner of the screen. I didn't recognize it since it wasn't a pony who usually studied terminals in any detail. And these weren't the standard Stapletech models either. Moving down the list of files led me to the blinking light. Warning.
Sublevels 1 and 2 compromised. Security systems activated by order of Overseer.
Mirror's singing voice sounded and then repeated the warning about compromission of the two sublevels. It certainly wasn't the sophisticated, charismatic tone of the Overseer. For a moment, I was just glad of that. Though that swiftly faded as I realized exactly what I was being told. And as the phone cue, the whole room shook, dust trailing from the roof tiles as the lights flickered. I staggered back from the desk. The boom which had preceded the shudder was swiftly followed by a dull clatter of gunfire. Fuck, could this get any worse? Was my first thought, followed swiftly by a list of what might be going on. Maybe it was Star? Maybe the security system had finally decided to do its job and was killing some roaches or something? If it was the latter reason, it would only depend on puzzling riddle regarding the Overseer's actions. Yet I highly doubted he'd lose control over his own facility. So if it wasn't him, then the question remained as to who was happening down there. Another boom, this time much louder, shook the office violently. Fuck, why couldn't my jaws ever be easy? Just when you left her friend and got herself abducted by a damn robot, now you're just turning into Celestia what knows what from Dragonfire. My conscience retorted in my amused-sounding tone of voice. Just grunted in irritation as I levitated my burning from the desk and clumsily attempted to put it on. Sounds of rapidly repeating gunfire reported again in the wake of the second boom, now sounding way too close for my comfort. Cherry appeared in the right doorway, glancing cautiously at the ceiling.
I didn't see anybody. There weren't even any guns up there.
She informed me while approaching to be upset, or was it that she was angry with herself? With an uncomfortable twist of my tender midsection, I managed to slip my barding over my flank and up over my back. Besides the thick coat of sweat and patches of vomit that still clung to my throat, my barding still felt the same. Well, at least the little fucker had messed with my gear. At that snide mental comment, I redirected my focus on the situation at hand. Since I was not particularly desirous of having an untimely end because I was being distracted by my conscience or whatever. Don't think about whatever he may have done to you. Dragon, just don't think about it now. You have Cherry to save, and now you have potential hostiles above you that you will likely need to deal with. I reminded myself firmly. With that, I took a step out of the cover afforded by the terminal's desk. Cherry, stay close, I instructed in the mirror almost subconsciously. The pink mirror was quick to obey, resuming her usual place close to my tail as I stepped towards the door. Yet another roiling movement once again disturbed my body uncomfortably. Glancing back, however, I recalled something. Cherry looked at me strangely as I paused. My eyes directed towards the pony-shaped ash pile before the desk, more specifically its former hooves. Could it? I wondered briefly. My horn flared, digging through the ash until it struck something solid. The battered, old, star-shaped music box looked no better than it had centuries ago as I suspended it in my magical aura. Its once golden coat is now completely replaced with a dull brown texture. Yet I could still see the heart engraved into its center, and with a push of my magic, it popped open.
What is it?
Cherry asked. I glanced at her as she looked the pre-war technology over. Most likely she was, in her mind, wondering how much it was worth. Something from a long time ago, I simply told her, with no real idea as to why I had answered her in the way that I had. I didn't play it. Dad still even worked. Its mini gears looked no better than the rusted exterior. I merely looked at it for a long moment. Then the room shook again as I promptly popped it closed. Come on, we're getting out of here, I instructed. With that, I slid the metal trinket into my saddlebags. Part of me even wondered if I should wear it around my neck as it should be. But the rest of my mind regarded that idea as if we're a complete stranger attending some party uninvited. A few corridors later, I found myself peering around the corner of a black door frame, the double doors of a stairwell at the end of the corridor just beyond. Cautiously, I approached the doors, creeping as steadily as I could so as to stop the throbbing discomfort in my stomach. A loud bang sounded from the ceiling above me, and the loud sound echoed through the room. And as if already wasn't nervous enough, I could hear a dull whoosh as I reached the doors to the stairwell. I froze, preferring that whatever was on the other side make the first move, instead of opening doors and getting whatever nasty surprise this place might have. My ears perked up and swiveled in the direction of the closed doors as I attempted to heighten my focus through controlled breathing exercises. I didn't know what awaited me on the other side of the doors, and from the sound of bangs and explosions, I was kind of skeptical that I wouldn't like whatever awaited me on the other side of those doors. Did they have some sort of rocket launcher? I'd heard enough of them in my time to know that distinctive sound of a missile. More worryingly, it was that I hadn't seen any security features to indicate such high explosive technology. Star didn't even have a missile launcher either. I scowled, getting into a crouched position, preparing to dodge whatever I was going to face on the other side of that door. So I wasn't exactly looking forward to find someone with incendiary ballistic weaponry. Terry flinched behind me, her ears perked and swiveling around. I closed my eyes, taking a breath as another bang seemed to splinter the wooden doors on the floor just above us, forcing them open with a terrific crash. Fucking minority! A bug's hiss around what I could only assume was a firearm. Yeah, those fucking turrets sure cut down the cannon fodder. Another voice, which sounded like a mare, croaked, her vocal inflection sounding as if she almost admired the turn's efforts. Well, those fuckers were nothing but unworthy meatbags anyway. The bug responded, seeming to spit out whatever he was holding in his muzzle. Now, come on. We're taking this last level and then getting the fuck back to the servers. This place doesn't feel right. He had a solemn tone on voice. My ears twitched nervously as I know that there were at least two of them. I braced myself against the wall near the double doors and levitated the sound blaster right up in the direction of the closed door. As the sound of footsteps sounded upon the metallic frame of the stairs, I knew I'd at least have the element of surprise that they were hostile. They certainly didn't sound friendly. In fact, that was almost a welcome relief from the lure you in and fuck with you or insides tactic, which the overseer employed. Another witty comment from my mind reminded me that it was my own fault for following him and not blasting him to scrap them. That thought was swiftly shunted away since I couldn't afford to be distracted. Now if I was to teach Cherry how to be a proper bounty hunter and how to handle uncertain situations like the one we were in now. Keep quiet, maggots. Keep your eye out for any one more of those fucking things. Another voice sounded. That of American. At least I thought it was a mare's. It was as rough as sandpaper. It was making her sound like a stallion. The sound of the approaching pony's hooves rounded back towards me as the stairs turned. I nodded the chair as she leaned against the opposite wall, a zap-zap levitating in her magic. Even with the barrel of my blaster pressed right up to their faces, I doubted it would cool them all. I need her firepower if it went sour, which it most certainly would. We better find some serious shit down here, otherwise I'm gonna be seriously pissed. The buck, who I imagined had a rather large build but the sound of his heavy hoofs, growled. Yes, that's right. You waste a siege you'll knows how many savages to get down here. Chief, you gonna tell us what the fuck we're looking for? The mayor hissed. I gritted my teeth at the banter being spoken, the ears upon my head twitching. The thought of asking Cherry to kill another pony was swiftly becoming more prominent, and it was just another lesson of the wasteland. There was no innocence once you reached self-awareness, on the level of every pony's guilt. Shut the fuck up, the lot of you. If Carter sent us down here with an army of savages, then you can be sure that he expects us to get what he asked for. The gruff mayor, I identify as having the rather odd name of Chief, added bluntly. My visor was not trying to pick them out through the faded windows of the door. The red lights intermittent flickers, which occasionally outlined their silhouettes, wasn't promising. I glanced back at my companion, her fearful eyes still locked on the double doors. Yet to her they were just still voices. She had no idea what could transpire in the impending few minutes. Killing geckos was one thing, but what she could be about to do was nothing short of murder. That guy doesn't care what he's getting as long as there's some blood flowing and the Baron ain't pissed at him. The buck, who I'd also identified as Slap, added almost resentfully. The red outline in the second mirror seemed to squirm with either laughter or nervousness at Slap's opinion. You doubting your master's ability? Chief growled angrily, leaning on the buck despite being half his size. Now it was his turn to squirm as the little mare's eyes bored to his like hot daggers. No, I ain't saying nothing like that. He stammered nervously.
It's lucky for you that you shut your muzzle right now, because if you run any more with such a dishonest talk, I'll be telling the boss all of your complaints against them. Then it'll be your blood that's flowing. Chief hissed coldly. That seemed to shut the buck right up, as he swiftly turned back to face the lower door. Now you two get the fuck down there and check for any fucking relics, Chief demanded angrily, pushing the pair downward with their forehooves. They grumbled to one another before turning swiftly towards us. Shit. It was now or never, I thought so I looked back. Jerry, I need you to. Hey, who the fuck are you? Shit. My mind flared and my magic instinctively pulled the blaster's trigger. With a sharp flash and a hiss, the green-coated mare had her forehead reduced to naught but a seared red sludge. Her face and mane were seared as she fell gagging and screaming onto the floor. Slab, a brown-coated buck with dark red mane, had a significant advantage in his size. It offered a bit more resistance against the energy beams as they lanced across his black body. He stammered, glancing down to his grimly amputee companion. "Fuck! Stream!" he cried, turning to me. It was then I noticed a rocket launcher mounted to his left side of his battle saddle. My eyes widened, my head rising in fear as the tip of the explosive projectile aligned in my direction. My magical grip and faltered as pure dread gripped me. I was in no state to fight. What the fuck was I doing? Stupid pony, stupid! Soon the zap of energy buzzed over my ear, which was quickly followed by the stallion giving a whinny of pain and bucked his rear legs and shattered the wooden door behind him as his eyes were reduced to smoking holes in the skull. Go away! The most unfair voice screamed aggressively. Another zap of energy followed. The vibrant beam impacted his face, enveloping him in the pink glow before he turned to naught but glowing flat ash. I watched as he crumbled into a pile of dust before me. The disintegration process was so painfully slow. It was as if the world wanted me to feel every moment of the fatal transformation. Every long second was a horrifying reminder of the Hayland memory. The brain sense was slowly dissolving from within. What the fuck? Chief cried furiously from the stairs midsection. I bit down, forcing the barrel of my gun through the sky doors. Since concentration sent strikes of pain through my mind as I struggled. Then it was the flash. The beam slanted up the stairs, skimming the cursing mare's rump as she bolted back to the upper level. Finally, the energy rifle fell with a clatter. Beside me, Cherry gasped as the gravity that she had murdered began to sink in. Zap Zap fell beside my saddle blaster on the black tile floor. The air stank of seared flesh and the metallic ozone smell of discharged energy rifle fire mixed with the smell of blood as Stream's corpse slowly bled out and ceased thrashing. I closed my eyes tightly and released this jagged breath. The barrel shook as I haltingly released it, almost as if I was crying in grief. When my eyes opened, they were met by Cherry's traumatized expression. She'd saved me. She picked up a gun and killed another pony with it. I owe her my life. While I also may have robbed her of her innocence. No, there is no such thing as innocence out here. My ears flattened as my mind wrestled with itself between which action to take and worrying between satisfaction that she was becoming a valuable teammate and regret that she lost this last frontier of her innocence. I had to save her from her paralyzing fear and self-recriminations, and all of a sudden I felt a warm embrace around me. My eyes widened as the pink mirror wrapped her forehead tightly around my neck, just as I had done with her back in the locker room. I'm sorry, Dragonfire. All the fear, guilt, anger, and sadness she'd harbored for God knows how long came rushing out, then disappeared as I hugged her back. The tensing of her muscles was almost instinctive, yet she didn't flinch. In fact, neither of us seemed to want to let go. It reminded me of only one other pony I knew. That feeling that I could just hold on to her forever while the world fell apart.
I could take on the whole wasteland for her, and for what? Because of the unusually emotional circumstances of our meeting? My sympathy? My stupidity? Why was she so different from the ponies I had freed before? You don't need to be sorry. You don't. I told her firmly, almost instinctively as my eyes quivered with tears. I pressed my head against her shoulder. She was different because I saw somebody who needed another good soul in their life. And after what I'd been through, I needed somebody like her to remind me what was right and what to evoke the various emotions which became just a little harder to feel with each pony I added to the stain upon my soul. I, I life for transcendence. The gargled voice of the dying mare behind us rasped, blood bubbling from her muzzle as her last breath escaped her. I looked down at the non-lifeless body, where a part of me was curious about her last words. Yet the part of me that still held onto Cherry wouldn't let go of her as she shivered and shook and cried into my shoulder from the trauma of her first kill. Get the fuck down there, you maggots! A distant voice sounded from atop the stairs, its gruff tone unmistakable. The sound of many footsteps upon metal followed, and a moment later as several opponents galloped around the stairs midsection, glanced through the cell blaster and concentrated on nothing but the thought of the pony I still needed to save. My magic wrapped the weapon in a cloud of telekinesis. Cherry, stay close to me. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I whispered into her ear. She flinched, looking torn between breaking from her mental trauma, her instinct for survival, and warm embrace we shared. I listened to our embrace, pulling gently back as the sound of hooves rounded it approached the ruined doorframe. The last glimpse of Cherry's smiling face was the most perfect thing I'd ever seen. Yet the world stole it from me all too soon. My blaster levitated up to the door, and I spun to face it with a fiercely determined expression. My magic poised up upon the trigger. The series of maniacal laughs and a slew of colorful profanities. 3 raider ponies bursted in one still intact door, scattering pink ash, singed gore, and splintering wood as they emerged. They were met by the same fate as their predecessors. The bright flash of the modified energy rifle vaporized 2 of the shabby armored ponies. The third dodged sideways and used the furniture of the room for cover as he helplessly tried to strike me with a rusted knife in his slavering muzzle. His efforts resulted in the loss of his left forehoof as my dragon claw came out from its shell sheath and sliced it clean off. The savage pug screamed before crumbling on the floor. I spared him from further agony as I brought the blade across his jugular. Your life for mine, I muttered with a sullen face as he died in the pool of his own blood. Without another thought for yet another victim slain by me, I took a step forward. Monsters. It's okay to kill monsters. Jerry took one look at the concoction of gore, pink dust, and wood before her legs began to shake so much that she nearly collapsed. Even in spite of her trembling legs, she remained firm, focusing on me as she retrieved Zap Zap with her magic. I could make out the sound of fleeing hoofsteps just above for just a moment before they faded into the distance. Chief, I assumed. Not so mean now that everybody that you bullied them at Boston Round was dead, are you? I snickered in amusement at her change in attitude now that death drawn near and solitude hounds her every step. I took a step onto the metal frame on the stairs. Nevertheless, I had no fucking clue what was going on there. We'd only corralled, had been putting napped by a robot, experimented on by said robot, and now shot at by some scavenger scum? I felt like shit. Star was missing, and Cherry had been traumatized more than any pony he ever deserved. Well, I think that's all of it, when I stated, taking out boxes on the mental checklist casually. Regardless, this place had quickly risen the worst place out here in the wasteland. It has been even shot for us the majority of our time here. One thing was for sure, We were getting out of here. The only problem was that this place wasn't so friendly anymore. With a flash of energy and the sizzling hiss, another radar was turned to glowing pink ash. Regardless of what I'd overheard downstairs, there seemed to be still enough of these meatbacks to go around. There was no sign of any pony like those black armored fuckers we'd killed below, nor was there any sign of the ponies they called Chief. Not that the rares were any trouble for any experienced bunny hunter like me. Most of their tactics involved were nothing more than running as full tilt with nothing more than rusting knives, sharpened shovels, and pull cues. Not too much of a threat when you were carrying superior firepower, not to mention that they had to clamber over the bodies of their former companions to get anywhere near us. For what it was worth, the security system has thinned a lot of them out. That left overseers rolling this even more a mystery. Nevertheless, I turned him to scrap if I ever saw lay eyes on him. Unfortunately, most of the turrets were gone, so I couldn't take my anger on those. I cautiously sneaked toward the corner of the wall, the wide laboratory wall opposite informing me a large black layer this was level 4. One more level to go, and then we could use this service elevator to bypass the rest of these fuckers and lift back and get Star. I leaned back, reloading my blaster. Cher stopped beside me, and as soon as I looked at her, it wasn't hard to tell this was stretching her to her very limit. Despite this, though, she was managing to hide the dark turmoil inside with a firm expression. As for her skill, when it came to fighting raiders, it was reasonable at best. I could see now why she'd been caught, but I dismissed that cruel thought as I needed to keep staying focused and keeping my guard up. As for taking the lives of other ponies, she seemed to not react as much as she had mere moments ago. She slew whoever it was that had tried to kill me. As innocent as she was, it wasn't hard to think she may have killed other ponies before she and I met. And that didn't make me feel any better about what I asked of her, however. "How are you holding up?" I finally asked, slipping a new spark pack into my weapon. She closed her eyes, nodding with a slight sniff. I, I can manage. They're not different from those I left Bucktown to kill anyway," she stammered, opening her eyes once more. Even that was a blow to my conscience. She was slowly losing all those things I had seen her only days ago, only to become somebody else. That's what the wasteland does. It robs you of any innocence the living might have had, my mind reminded me. That was what it had done to me. That what it done to every pony. "Come on out, you fuckers! I wanna gut ya!" A crazed raider cackled from around the corner. I leaned out, only to dive back as fragmentation's pellets struck the wall. Great! Now one of them had a gun. A shotgun. And like all raider weapons, it was not in the best condition. That didn't negate the fact it was a threat. However, and my horn flared as I blind fired a pair of plasma rifles in our attacker's direction. It wasn't hard to imagine the blood-stained white corridor was turned into a shooting gallery as both the automatic plasma weapons blasted it with bolts of green energy. A hiss and sharp scream later, and I checked it was clear by glimpsing the reflection of my rifle's casing. "Fuck you! Fuck all you boys with your stupid faith!" Ryder growled, withering in the spreading pool of his own gore. His right shoulder and forehoof had both melted. Instead of the seared flesh filled the corridor. Approaching him, I levitated my gun to his head. What I was about to do was both mercy, and prevent my timid companion from having to stomach the gruesome scene for any longer. "They'll get you. They'll get every pony. Then we'll all work for them." I silenced his cruel laughter with a plasma burst to the skull. "Consider yourself lucky, then." He spat scornfully as his head melded into vicious red soup. "What did he mean?" Cherry's quiet voice murmured behind me. I paused. Okay, I was expecting her to collapse from shock or trauma, not to be curious. Damn it, Brain! She, not a fool. Besides, are you so different? If I hadn't been in the lab around less than an hour ago, then yeah, it would be. But right now, I couldn't give a fuck. I don't know, just some typical crazy shit. I told her as I casually began trying on words. I was no stranger to freaky religions in the wasteland. They tended to rise when your original deities were no better than everybody else.